Hello and welcome to our 9 p.m. English news edition. Here are the headlines. The Minister of Health receives a strong Chinese delegation led by the President of the GX Foundation. Russian missiles in the new geopolitical of Ankara. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, addressed today, Saturday, on the occasion of the anniversary of the French National Day, a message of congratulation to his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron. In his telegram, the head of state expressed wishes of success to Mr. Macron, as well as more well-being, prosperity and fulfillment to the French-friendly people. The government and the people of Djibouti join me in expressing their friendship and sympathy for the French nation on the occasion of the celebration of the 40th of July, wrote President Guelleh in substance. The Republic of Djibouti and France maintain exceptional relations woven by the thread of history. Was then delighted His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, for whom the cultural, language and strategic partnership that link the two countries in almost all areas of sustainable development are symptomatic of the highly privileged nature of relations between our two nations. Exemplary the collaboration that our two states maintain in the key area of security and defense gives even more to full extent of the exceptional relation which unites France and the Republic of Djibouti. Besides, noted the head of state before thanking President Macron for his commitment to strengthening the level of economic and trade exchange between the two countries. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, visited the aircraft carrier which arrived on the country. The later visit to our country privileged a clemenceau of positioning and dissuasive action which is assigned over the period. French military cooperation with its strategic partners and allies, including Djibouti, located throughout the itinerary between the military representation received at the Admiral Square, creating as general staff within Charles de Gaulle on strategic objectives, the aircraft carrier led, and the explanation received on the Ghost, the main deterrent force of the flagship of the French Navy, also made up, was accompanied by the main Djiboutian officers in charge of defense and security, including the Chief of Staff. Chief of National Security, Mr. It is also worth noting the presence within delegation that accompanied the President of the Republic, Mohamed Abdullah, before his arrival on board helicopter, and was received at the French air base in Ambassador. The Chinese delegation was warmly welcomed at the General Pelletier Hospital by the General Manager, Mr. Hussein Mohammed Hussein, as part of a prospection visit to the Ophthalmology and Int Department led by the President of the GX Foundation, Mr. Long Chong-Ying. The Chinese delegation was able to inquire about the operational capacity of this ophthalmic and Int Department and specialty blocks at the Pelletier Hospital. During the visit, the Director General, Mr. Hussein Mohammed Hussein, praised the important contribution of these Chinese permanent medical contingent present for several years at the Pelletier Hospital in the ophthalmological and Int field. The head of the delegation, Mr. Lang, said he was satisfied with the infrastructure visited as well as the high-performance technical platform that exists in these specialized services. Recall that this perspective comes in the perspective of the next Chinese medical mission to be held in Djibouti. During a 3-day visit to Djibouti, the Chinese delegation of the Gongsheng Foundation, which means sharing in Mandarin, closed yesterday afternoon its mission to the regional hospital of Arta, which has been under the supervision of the CNSS since 2015. The purpose of this mission to study the ways and means of initiating medical action against cataract and the cleft plate slit, better known under the name of cleft lip. At the head of this delegation by Mr. Lok Chin Ying, the former chief executive of Hong Kong, who chairs the GX Foundation, was warmly welcomed on arrival at 4 p.m. at Arta Hospital by the senior officials, CNSS officials and local medical staff and Chinese doctors who operate in this hospital offered by China in 2012 with a litter capacity of 128 beds. to Arta Hospital, large as 2 football fields, is a regional reference with a state-of-the-art operating theatres of mini-invasive surgeries in urology and ophthalmology, explained the head of the hospital, Mr. Ahmed Abdul Jama. Regarding cataract surgical procedures at the Arta Hospital, one of the objectives of the Chinese mission, it was presented during this meeting by Dr. Abdul Aziz Ali, doctor and surgeons of the eyes of the CNSS. The latter said that 90% of ophthalmology operations that we perform at the Hospital of Arta are on cataract. Otherwise, hair-bone surgeries are fewer in Arta Hospital, said CNSS General Surgeon Dr. Sila, who said the GX Foundation support comes at the right time for an in-depth study the situation on this malformation of the lips and the palate. Following this meeting, the delegation made a guided visit of the Arta Hospital to inquire about the capability of the Arta Hospital. At the end of this visit, the president of the GX Foundation, Mr. Long Ching, said in an interview that the mission in Djibouti will complete the action plan that is being developed by the GX Foundation so that provide concrete response to fight cataract and lipidopalatin. The National Agency for Information System of the state closed Thursday in Kempinski a 2-day workshop devoted to the provisional acceptance and validation of the e-government strategy 2019-2022. This workshop is part of the modernization and digitization of the action of the public administration so that it is more efficient, more modern and closer to users. These new digital users, the relationships and interaction between citizens of the public administration and its agents are transformed in a statement made to the press on this occasion. The Director General of the INCE, Mustafa Muhammad Ismail, explained in the digital age where digital technology, condition or ways of communicating, of working, of information, of consume and be entertained. The Djiboutian administration must be dynamic and competitive to support the development of the private sector. The Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, received in his cabinet the visit of His Excellency Mr. Christophe Guihou, Ambassador of France in Djibouti. It will be a goodbye visit of the ambassador at the end of his mission in Djibouti. The diplomat was accompanied by the attached for internal security of the French embassy, Colonel Datin. During a long interview, Mr. Christophe Guihou returned to the quality and excellence of the relations between the French embassy and the Djiboutian gendarmerie, and particularly underlined the cordial understanding as well as the confidence which characterizes the relations between the two institutions. The Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, for his part, also noted the quality of the relations of cooperation and exchanges that the Gendarmerie shares with the embassy and the various authorities that compose it. The Chief of Staff did not fail to extend his heartfelt thanks and appreciation to His Excellency the Ambassador for his constant support in the field of staff training and capacity building of the institution. At the end of his interview with the Chief of Staff of the Gendarmerie, Mr. Christophe Guihou signed the Golden Book of the Gendarmerie. The ceremony ended with the traditional exchange of gifts. On the day of Thursday, July 11, 2019, a very strong delegation led by the National Secretary for Youth, Mr. Mahad Hussein Ahmed, and the National Secretary for Culture, Mr. Mohamed Souge of the Popular Rally for Progress, went to the city of Ali Sabih. Following the invitation of the youth of the region of Ali Sabih, a delegation representing the executive committee of the Popular Rally for Progress, the National Secretary for Youth and the National Secretary for Culture visited this morning, Thursday, July 12, 2019, in the city Asadrug. The several seniors, officials and members of the Central Committee accompanied the two National Secretaries and members of the Executive Committee in their travels. After responding and being welcomed at the invitation of the youth of Okar last month, it was therefore to continue this policy of proximity so dear to the party. Indeed, the very strong delegation led by the two members of the Executive Committee who represented the party's executive in the meeting with the youth of Ali Sabih was welcomed in a very warm atmosphere. Ali Sabih's RPP President Mr. Mohamed Ibrahim Ahmed, Vice President of the Regional Council Mr. Daoud Said Gildon, Ali Sabih Youth President Mr. Jibril Hosh, the presidents of the RPP Annex Ali Sabih City and the 4 localities Ali Sabih, Ali Adde, Gubeto, Holhol and Dazbio, as well as members of the civil society, party, activists, as well as Sajs and Okar of the region. Well, afterward, the official ceremony began with the reading of the Holy Quran. Then several personalities followed on one another on the platform to transmit their messages. Subsequently, the National Secretary for Culture, Mr. Mohammed Sugi, who took the floor in his speech, he recalled that in and out of tour, the tragedy of the approach of proximity to youth in addressing the augur assembly as he has keen to express himself an accent recent drifts and called the tribal hatred by unhealthy people. He asked to be vigilant against those people who pollute social networks with their hateful message and to work together on social cohesion and national unity. Subsequently, he expressed the party's full support to the entire population of Ali Sabih. For his part, the National Secretary for Youth, Mr. Mahad Hussein Ahmed, thanked the entire population of Ali Sabih for their very warm welcome. He also conveyed the greeting message of the President of the RPP party and President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Umar Ghali, and the First Lady, Mrs. Qadra Mahmoud Haid, and greetings from the Vice President of the party, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, and the Secretary General of the party, His Excellency Ilyas Musa Dawali, and greetings of the Executive Committee of RPP. Party also specified youths ASCA will RPP party to work with them and respond to their aspirations and concerns. In the wake of his speech, the National Secretary of Youth, Mr. Mahad Hussein Ahmed, expressed the young people that are only tribe for us all in Djibouti. After the official speech, it is sure a song dedicated to the value of the youth that ended the ceremony. Following the order of mission of His Excellency, the Minister of Labour in charge of the reform of the administration, Mr. Ismail Ibrahim Roble, a joint control bringing together main institutions of the labour market, General Labour Inspectorate, CNSS and IFIP, continues to operate in companies located in the north region, namely Tajura and Obok. During the 5 days corporate control operation after the Tajura region, the 3 labour market institutions traveled to the Obok region, namely Obok City up to Godoria, with a very clear objective, encouraging the social partners to better comply with the textual provision. Once again, the aim of this control was to raise awareness, reassure all the social partners of the existence of the state's legal mechanisms to ensure compliance with labor legislation throughout the entire national territory. During the check, the agents noted situation of discrepancy, the labor code, on which corrective measures should be taken as quickly as possible. The labor inspector had meetings and consultation with the employees of the place to erect an infringement and failures found during this control. The latter are committed to bring quickly the measures highlighted by the labor inspectors. Missing. The Ahmed Wa'is family is actively searching for their son named Nasir Ahmed Wa'is, who has been missing since yesterday. This is a 38-year-old man with depression who has been living in Section 6 since yesterday morning. The search also has a cleft lip or an almost visible palate as a special sign. In case someone would see or recognize the individual in question, please contact the following mobile phone numbers: 7709-6461 or 7763-4035. We have just learned with great sadness the death of the late Amari Al-Hayya Duali following a long illness. The deceased left behind 12 children and several small children. The RTD Information Directorate offers their deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. May the very high welcome in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Moving on the international news. The first element of Russian S-400 missiles arrived Friday in Ankara aboard a cargo plane. This happened in one of the main Turkish military bases, and this delivery of Russian arms corresponds to an agreement between the Turkish and Russian authorities. More deliveries are planned in the coming days and weeks. The United States and NATO concerned Ankara, along of Washington ally turned to Moscow to acquire a sophisticated anti-aircraft defense system. The United States is very up, just like NATO, in which Turkey is nevertheless part. Military Express explained that this Russian system is not compatible with the NATO system. In any case, for Abdullah Agar, a former Turkish officer, this marks a redistribution of maps geopolitically. This case has already caused a change in military cooperation between the United States and Turkey. Washington has stopped training Turkish pilots in the handling of the future F-35 stealth aircraft, and the United States now threatens to exclude Turkey completely from the development program of his Hunter. They fear that the Russians will have access to the secrets of this device. Russian missiles, American sanctions, and economic difficulties. Will this case also have an impact on the economy? Turkey is going through a bad patch, and American sanctions, if adopted, could destabilize the country a little bit more. This economic instability the Turkish president has made the cost of the polls, losing the last election in Istanbul and Ankara. And according to Ugur Demir, Turkish economists, it may not be over yet. The Turkish president is playing big with this Russian missile case because within his own party, hitherto united, distinct voices are bringing to be heard. In the midst of financial turmoil, a decade ago of the legal case of financier Jeffrey Epstein, accused of sexual abuse of minor, U.S. Labor Minister Alexander Acosta announced his resignation on Friday. I called the president this morning to tell him that I thought resigning was the best thing to do, Acosta said from the White House, guarding alongside Donald Trump. Alex Acosta was a very good minister of labor, committed the U.S. president. Alexander Acosta had been criticized for several days for having, in 2008, while he was federal prosecutor in Florida, having negotiated a court agreement deemed too favorable to Jeffrey Epstein. This wealthy hedge fund investor was again charged Monday on New York with sexual exploitation of dozens of minors. He faced up to 45 years in prison. But Epstein, who has had many friendships, including Donald Trump, former Democratic President Bill Clinton, or Prince Andrew, son of Queen Elizabeth II, was targeted by a similar charge in Florida a decade ago. The agreement, negotiated by a prosecutor under the aegis of Acosta, had at the time avoided a trial of Jeffrey Epstein, kept apart from his victim and provided particularly favorable conditions for the development of his detention. And that's all for this news, and thank you for watching us. Have a wonderful night.